you introduced yourself, and I know you said it was in like an informal introduction, was so beautiful, and it segued so nicely into the start of the conversation that I think it would almost be jarring to do an introduction, like a formal one, just because I feel as though this conversation, it's relaxed, but the way you've just introduced how you work within this kind of spectrum of contributing towards the Black economy using your skill set is, to me, such a beautiful way of talking about how we redefine future business, because actually we've moved, I think, from a very transactional way of working with each other to being very collaborative. And once upon a time, it was always about the exchange of money. But now we're becoming a lot more aware of the exchange of intellect, good conversation, feeling nourished, all those great things now. So Aj, thanks for that. So I think I'm sorry, ladies, switch it on you again and ask you, I'm going to ask the same question as a way of introducing yourself, which is, what do you do and how do you plan to redefine 2022 in the way you work and the way you operate? So I'm going to start with you, Deb, because you're giving me good nods.
So, hello again. My name is Deborah Choi, and I am a founder of both Founderland and Bosk. So I'm an entrepreneur for most of my career. I have been, and I'm currently running concurrently my fourth and fifth ventures. So what I do as a managing director or founder of Founderland, Founderland is essentially a social enterprise that exists to accelerate the business success of women of color founders across Europe and the UK. We received some funding from google.org at the end of last year through the Women and Girls Challenge, which enables us over the next 3 years to run accelerator programs with the goal of getting more women of color funded and to change the landscape from less than 0.5% of venture capital going to women of color founders in Europe. On the other hand, I'm also an operator. So with my other company, Bosk, it's a direct-to-consumer plant business based in Berlin. And we sell high-quality, sustainably grown houseplants with very low climate impact across all of Germany. When it comes to 2022, one thing that I've been really thinking about is this theme of transitions. And when you feel that you're at the beginning of one or going through the end of one, what do you do with that intuition? I'm currently working through that myself. And transitions for me are actually both personal and professional. I feel that there's kind of a new chapter that is coming over the next few years in my career. And I'm trying to think through how to prepare for that. But also personally, I'm a mother. My daughter starts school this summer, wow. And I just feel that there's a whole new kind of chapter ahead, and just trying to think through kind of how I orient myself and prepare myself as much as I can for what's to come. So that's me.
There are so many strands to pick up from that we'll have in this conversation. There's transitions, there's being a multi-hyphenate, there's being forward thinking in your positioning in terms of sustainability, diversity, equity. There's so much to start with there, Deb, but thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I'm going to move from one partially tech person to another tech person. You know who you are, Kit. So I'm going to hand over to you to give a bit of background and tell us how you're changing 2022. You're on mute, Kit.
That's unacceptable in this day and age. So I'm Kit. So I run a company called Mindweaver, and what we're focused on is helping, changing the world of emerging technology. Small thing, and making it more anti-racist and more diverse, and we do that through a number of different mechanisms. Some of that is focused on representation, but a lot of that is much more focused on how organizations interact with and engage with their people, and how they understand the value of that as well. And I think if Debs, if your theme is is transition, then mine, I think, for 2022 is probably value. So not just how do organizations do that, but how does Mindweaver as an organization value itself, in the sense of who do we partner with? Because our mission is to change the landscape, and so we're only working with you if you're serious about that. You know, how do I value myself in terms of who I engage with and who I you know, corporately hang out with? You know, you women here, for example, you know, that I think that fuels my sense of value, because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, you know, there's a serious powerhouse here, and I think that there is something to that. There's something to understanding the material value that we bring as individuals, but also the collective value of the Black economy. And I know that I have a habit of running off, but but that is something that I think, you know, that I'm hoping that, you know, Mindweaver and other Black-owned businesses are actually having in their mind's eye when it's about, okay, the value towards that, you know, fueling the Black economy, and therefore uplifting us as a people, full stop.
That was awesome, Kit. And I have to say, at the beginning, the level of cohesion already is making my job as a moderator so good. You segued perfectly from Black economy to the preserver of legacies. Nikki, take it away. That could it have been better? I don't think so.
So smooth.
So thank you.
Oh, so smooth. It's awesome to be here. My name is Anani. I am a legacy planning expert, so I help business owners plan for legacy, move their businesses from lifetime to legacy. And why? Essentially, we all know in our community, generational wealth is something that is top of mind. And really, how can we build generational wealth? How can we build generational legacies? And that's really, a lot of the time when we look at our counterparts, it's really from at the source of their wealth is a generational business at some point in their trajectory. I'm also co-founder of a community that's focused on this, and it's called African Family Firms. So it's a membership organization for business owners across Africa and the diaspora, looking at how can we build generational wealth and generational legacies through our businesses. As we all know, particularly in Africa, amongst the indigenous community, finding multi-generational businesses is quite rare. You tend to see it more amongst the Indian and Lebanese African communities, and not necessarily amongst ours. And the same is actually pretty much the same across the diaspora. So how can we move the needle? So when we're talking about a Black economy, this is really what we're focused on, is ensuring that we have that financial security as individual families and also as a collective. The question on what am I thinking about in terms of 2022, I think you said it all there, but in terms of transition, both myself as an individual, business, and also my community, everyone's grappling with transition. A lot of what we're seeing is a lot of business families have been disrupted, COVID-19, and are having to change the way they've done things, and are having to move into new territories, whether physically or in terms of the work that they're doing in their businesses. And so as a community, we are grappling with how to equip them with the right skills to ensure that they remain future focused. We talk about tech, and tech is the new land. What land was 100 years ago is what tech is. And your work is so important as Deb, in terms of ensuring that we get our fair share of funding, because we are at risk of getting left behind on this wealth trajectory. And so a lot of what we do in our community is, whether heritage or new business owners, how can we position you to ensure that even as you're building this tech venture, you're thinking longer term when you set up, what happens with that wealth so that it doesn't dissipate, and we're able to build legacy wealth for your future generations and also communities.
You floored me now. Thank you. Goodbye. That was great. No, but I think we should kind of explore, because you guys have given some key themes: transitions, value. I think around your generational wealth, it's not always just about the physical wealth, but also imparting generational intelligence, knowledge, stories. And also to your point, Kit, about value, it's how do I value myself against a particular backdrop, but how do I intrinsically value myself in a community or in a mirror that doesn't necessarily reflect me? To get there. And now I think the corporate world is experiencing the transition phase now, which is having to redefine itself in terms of sustainability, having to define itself in terms of what are your values, how do you live them, how are you how are you contributing to communities who have been, and I don't mean our community, just communities who have been oppressed and excluded? What are you doing about it? And I think just to see all the work that you're all doing, it's pulling that together. It's pulling that thread of, we are transitioning. It's almost spinning on an axis within another cosmos that's spinning, almost like the planet, to be fair. So my question, a sustainable arm that counterbalances where we make money, but also ensures that we're putting that money back into the community, because we all know that the benchmarks of sustainability aren't just for those over there who might or might not be doing it, it's also for us.
That align themselves with a...
Am I selling 3 of my friends down the river to do it? And it's not because you have to the next bit, because it's only to that pain barrier can we get to the next point, the next part. To Deb's point, we can transition out of one phase into the next phase. But you know what happens at the end of one? We've learned something, learning moment for all.
Technology, right? Because there's a thing.
Or, just you're going through my inbox, walking down the street,